Okay, example, we have a problem here and we are given that the total surface area of the earth is given and the formula A is equal to 4 pi r squared. So uh, I have here ang atong radius of the earth is 6,370. So yung bitang na lang kilometers. So if we are going to square that one, that will be 5.099 times 10 raised to 14. Okay, so let us check Danay. So we have 4 pi times 6,370 squared. Okay, so take note ng iya ding nga answer is in meters. So pwede ito i-convert into meter na lang diretso. So we have 370,000 squared. So this is equal to 5.099 times 10 raised to the 14 meters squared. So assuming there are 7 billion humans on planet, what is the available surface area per person? So ang inyong area, divide ko lang siya by 7 billion. So that will be equal to 7 divided by 7 billion is 7 times. So our answer divided by 7 times 10 raised. So this is equal to 7. So, tumukan lang niya. So, we have, so pwede pa natin i-move. So, we will have 7.2. So, that is, okay, so, aton nga answer is 7.2 something. So, that will be 7.3 times 10 raised to the power of 4. Okay, another concept nga importante man in the study of physics is the understanding sa ginatawag natin yung mga significant figures. So the numbers of digits we write in a mantisa tells us how precisely we claim to know it. So the number of digits in mantisa is the number of ginatawag natin nga significant figure. So to give an answer to the problem, you need the correct number and the correct number of significant figures in the correct unit. So, syempre, take note also, kada terme nga if we will be considering sa mga problem solving, take note per nga insakto ang unit natin based on the concept or the problem presented. Kisa, okay man, kisa sa mga problem, naka-specify gid nga kinahanglan aton units will be in meters or in kilometers sa mga muna. But sometimes, we have to be careful gid if we are solving problems. Kay kisa dahil nanay ang mga units nga nakabutang sa mga problems. Okay, so I have here the concept of the rule for significant figures, but I also presented the rin kung paano siya mas maintindihan. So, we have this one, medyo complicated pa ni siya nga pag-plaster kung paano significant figures, but I have here ang I do hope kabay pa mas maintindihan ni natin yung concept of significant figures. So, significant figures. So, uncertainty in measurement. So, measurement always have uncertainty. Significant figures are these numbers of digits that are certain, can be measured in the first uncertain digit. So, rules for significant figures. So, number one, all non-zero numbers are significant. So, take note, zeros with non-zero numbers are also significant. Leading zeros are never significant. Zeros on the end sa mga numbers, hindi na siya importante, hindi na siya, kung sa leading dere, hindi na siya significant. Zeros on the end of the numbers are significant only kung may siya sa decimal point. Okay, for rule number one, all non-zero numbers are significant. Tanan nga ng zero, significant siya. Sa diri sa ato ng example, we have ang 3 kag 4 non-zero, 3, 2 kag 1 is non-zero. Tanan nga zero between sa non-zeros are also significant. Subod silingon, halin diri sa 340 as 0003 or 00321. So these are significant. Hambal niya, hambal natong kagina, leading zeros are never significant. That means, ari ang duwa ka zero before sini is not significant. Zeros on the end of a number are significant. But silingon, ang ating nga significant figure is halin diri sa 340 as diri sa. Okay, so subong, let us understand paano ni or pila ni ka-significant figure ang ari sa siniya given. 00340.00. So this one has 5 significant figures. Based on rule number 1 and 4, so ari, since we have 3, 4 which is non-zero, that means significant ni, ari ang aton nga 0, 0 sa sugod, since this is ang leading natin yung 0, so this is not considered significant, but ang 0 sa punta, considered siya significant, kaya ara siya sa punta sa mga decimal digit. How many significant figures? Siyempre, kabalo na kita, this will be equal to 4. May ara ka 2, dari kanan 0, 8 kag 1, and then ang tanan ng 0 between them will be significant. 8, 0, 0, 1. How about sini? So, 0.800 or 0.800.10. So this one, may ara na siya 5 ka significant figure kaya dugang ka 0 o may ara ka sang trailing 0. So, next, how many significant figure? Okay, so this one will just have one lang ka significant figure. So ang significant dari is 8. Take note nga may kita sa aton rule nga ang 0 dari sa punta will be considered significant kung may ka decimal place. Just like this one. So kung nagbutang ka dari decimal place sa punta, that means tanan-tanan ni will already be a significant figure. That means ang ari, this will have ang aton significant figure dari is 3 na siya. So, pwede natin gamiton ang concept of significant figures kung mag-add kita and mag-subtract. So, determine the number of significant figures sa ating decimal portion of each of the numbers in the problem. Add or subtract the numbers. Round the number to match the least number of places in the decimal portion of any number sa problem. So, using significant figures when adding and subtracting. So, paano ni natin himuon? So, that will be so if we add this one, this will be equal to 9.7551. So amo naton nga answer diri. But take note that if we will be asked to solve this using significant figure, ang ini nga answer, the least amount of significant figure sa aton nga right to the right of the decimal and the number is 2. Therefore, the answer should only have 2 significant figures to the right sa aton nga decimal. So sa aton nga decimal nga part, dira naton lang tawon, pila ang pinakagamay nga significant figure. So we have, may ara kita duwa ka decimal place, or may ara kita duwa ka significant figure, ang pinaka least number of significant figure sa right sa aton nga decimal place is 2. That's why dapat aton answer should be 2 significant figure lang man after sa aton nga decimal place. Next, using significant figure, add 0.03 gram of NaCl to 155 gram of water. So, what is the total mass? So, simple lang because addition naman. So, aton dari answer will be, will be 155. Take note, 155 wala siya point or wala siya decimal place. So, 155 lang diretso. But silingon, that will be wala ka 0.0. So, that means tanan di aton answer dapat is 155.03 amo na dapat aton answer. But since ang aton nga gina-consider diri is on the significant figure nga part, so wala ka significant figure after sa imong decimal digit sa 1.55. So that means aton answer will be 155. Next, Same man Japon, pero this time we're going to use it in multiplying and dividing. So determine how many significant figures each number being multiplied or divided has, and note which number is the fewest. Complete the calculation. Write the answer using the same number of significant figures as the least number of significant figures found in the numbers used in the calculation. So kinanglan naton mabalaan kung ilang tawon man Japon naton parehas ang ginhimo naton pila ang pinakagamay nga significant figure and then amo naton nga sundod. Okay, so using significant figure, so multiply 28.3 cm by 5 cm. So aton diri nga answer will be, okay, so 140 cm squared because 28.3 has 3 significant figures and 5 has 2 significant figures. So kung tanawon naton, ang pinaka uh, ang pinaka-smallest dere or may fewest nga significant figure is area ang 5.0 which is having two significant figures. Therefore, ang aton nga answer nga for if we solve this one gamit ang aton nga calculator so kung i-solve ta siya gamit ang aton nga calculator we will have 28.3 times 5 28.3 times 5. So aton answer dapat is 141.5. So, but take note nga duwa lang dapat a significant figure. Okay, let me just zoom in kay para makasulat kita. So, kay liwat, if we multiply sa 28.3 by 50 c or by 5 cm, aton answer dapat will be 141.5. Okay? If i-round off siya naton, pwede kita makagamit 142 kung naka-round off kita. So 142. But take note, ang pinakagamay or pinaka-fewest dali nga significant figure is walang dapat ka significant figure, 5 kag 0. So dapat aton answer dire will be duwa lang man ka significant figure. So paano siya naton mahimo duwa lang ka significant figure? Dapat convert ni naton sa 0. So that will be equal to 140. Take note nga kung amo ni aton answer, ang trailing nga part which is 0 will not be considered significant figure. That's why may ara lang kita duwa ka significant figure 1 kag 4. Okay, so I do hope this is already clear. Next, 454.02 gram of aluminum hydroxide multiplied by 5.2 equals how many grams? So if we are going to multiply this using sa ating calculator, this will be equal to 454.02 times 5.2. So aton answer will be, so dapat aton answer will be 236.904. So 236.904. Okay, so aton answer, aton answer dapat is 236. Wait lang. 2360.904. Okay, so aton answer dari will be 2360.904. Amo ni dapat aton answer. But take note nga kung pila di ang pinaka-lowest nga significant figure. For this one, pila na siya ka significant figure? This is 5. For this one, pila siya ka significant figure. We have 1, 2. Duwa lang siya ka significant figure. So dapat ang aton answer diri will be duwa lang man ka significant figure. So paano ni naton himuon? So that will be equal to convert na ni dapat. So round up naton. So we have 2, 4. So, duwa na ka significant figure. So, add na lang ta, duwa ka 0. Take note nga ang duwa dari ka 0 will not be considered significant figure kung hindi kita magbutang decimal point. So, take note lang para me, hindi ka dapat magbutang decimal point kung gusto mo hindi na siya makount as significant figure. Okay, so let us proceed. So for values written in scientific notation, the digits are only significant if a decimal point is shown. In a common logarithm, there are as many digits after the decimal point as there are significant figures in the original number. So we have expanded notation. So expanded notation such as this one or scientific notation such as this one. Okay, so that's what we do. We estimate sa mga significant figures. So take note lang that we have different system of units na pwede encounter. If we are studying sang bisan ano nga type of sciences, especially there is a physics. So ang kasabaran yung ginagamit naton is the SI units, the metric unit or the metric units used for scientific work around the world. So para sa SI units, we have the following unit and amo ni ilang ang mga abbreviation. For the meter, we have M that is used as a basic unit of length. For the mass naman, ang ating ginagamit is kilogram. So this is MKS nga unit, pero may harap makita CGS nga unit. So we have either centimeter, meter. So for time, syempre seconds. For current, there is ampere. For temperature, ginagamit natin ng unit is Kelvin. For the amount of substance that is mole or mole. For the mole ang lang yung abbreviation, MOL. For mole nga unit. For luminous intensity, candela na siya. So, ang yung unit is CD. Okay, so take note lang, ang gintong mention natin are the basic units of the SI system. So the meter is the distance that a light beam travels around in 1,293 something of a second, or this is concerned with the speed of light. A kilogram is defined as the mass of an international prototype in Paris. 1 second is the time interval during which oscillation of electromagnetic wave corresponding to transition between two scientific state of session. Amo niya ang ginapang mention diri is kung paano na-derive mga basic units naton. So, the abbreviation for meters, tinatawag natin nga M. So, para sa mass, dapat naka-italic. So, derived units. So, units for all other physical quantities are derived from 7 base units naton. Some derived units that are used often are given names. So, either ang mga names nga ginagamit sa mga units naton, they are named after famous mga scientists or physicists. So, we have sari-sari ng mga derived units. So, it was presented dara sa module naton sa ang mga sari-sari nga units man or derived units which we are going to run through man later on. So we have also SI standard prefixes. Okay, so we have to familiarize this one. So take note that we have from 10 raised to the power of 24, which is known as iota. So zeta for 10 raised to 21, exa for 10 raised to 18, peta for 10 raised to 15, tera for 10 raised to 12, giga, mega, kilo, hecto, deca. So medyo familiar na kita siya. For 10 raised to negative 24, that will be yocto. 10 raised to negative 21, that will be zepto. 10 raised to negative 18, ato. 10 raised to negative 15, femto. So medyo familiar na kita sang pico, nano, micro, milli, centi, and deci. So take note also, base later on, we are going to have units about land area. So we have hectare, acre. So, kinalayan natin mas ma-intindihan later on. So, for example, you just bought a plot of land, which is 2 kilometer by 4 kilometer. What is the area of the land in hectares and in acres? So, area is the kabalo kita kung if we um, would like to find the value of area ng specific nga space or specific na figure, kinahanglan natin i-multiply ang length by width. And that will be area natin is 2 kilometer by 4 kilometer or it's equal to 8 kilometers squared. So kung maghambal kita nga we are going to measure by um, hectares. So, kinanglan natin siya i-convert into meter squared. Pila siya ka meter squared. So, that will be equal to 8 times 10 raised to 6 meter squared. So, pila siya ka okay, times 10 raised to 6 divided by okay, so if nakuha na nimo ang value bala sang naka-meter squared na di, divide mo lang siya by 100 squared, that will be equal to hectares. Okay, so take note lang of the units of land area man nga ginagamit sa US. So, basi probably the soon encounter naman. So, we have this one. So, dali mo lang i-convert to acres. So, for example, ang ginapamangkot, so we have to use na sininga uh, ang aring conversion factor para makaamang values ang acre. Okay, so scales of our world. The laws of physics govern every object. Halin sa pinakagamay sa pinakadako. So the length is the distance measurement between 2 points in space. So kabalo kita, we will study objects with length ranging from 10 raised to pwede man ganing haling 10 raised to negative 24 as what was mentioned kagina up to 10 raised to the power of 26 or 10 raised to the power of 30 any possible number diri pwede naton ma-encounter. For mass is the amount of matter in an object. There is a vast range of masses. So we have to understand halin sa pinakagamay, whether that will be the mass of the uh, electrons up to the mass of the universe, which is 10 raised to 51 kilograms. Pwede na natin encounter later on. So physics involve problem solving. Here is a general 7-step blueprint for approaching problem solving. So inspect, isang problem nimo, think kung paano na siya i-approach, sketch kung pwede natin i-sketch or pwede natin maubrahan diagram. So, you could also, especially subong online na lang, could do research, then simplify nimo ang problem. Calculate based sa mga knowledge nga nabalaan about sa aton nga subject or sa specific na topic. Round or pwede na nimo round off ang mga answer. Then, double check. Double check kung you are aligned with the question nga ginapamangkot sa problem. If the units mentioned nga kinanglanon sa problem is already your unit. And double check kung okay ang mga steps na ginhimo nimo along the process nga nag-solve ka. Okay, so for example, nuclear waste material in physics laboratory is stored in a cylinder. We have ginhatag niya ang height sang imong cylinder kag syempre ang circumference. So, ang pamangkot lang mo diri is what is the volume of this cylinder in SI units. So for this entire nga first discussion naton, this will be focusing on sari-sari nga type of calculations, but we will be considering sang sari-sari nga units, either unit conversion inyo himuon or you will be performing mga sari-sari nga calculations based on the volume, area, unit conversion. So, amo lang na nga to yung himuon for this entire nga first nga discussion. So, first, take note that the height of the cylinder is given as 4 and 13 over 16 inches. So pwede siya natin i-convert into decimal point. So we have 4.8125 kung i-convert na natin sa decimal point. So since para masapos sa aton, we could convert this kay ang requirement sa aton is to have this in is a unit. So convert na siya into centimeter. So we have this will be equal to multiply mo by 2.54 cm ang inches. So this will be equal to 12.22 na. So the circumference of the cylinder dayon, pwede ito man i-convert into cm. That will be equal to 20.79625 centimeters. So, pwede natin i-sketch kung gusto gid natin i-sketch ang aton nga kag-represent ang problem naton. So, based on the research or kung medyo hindi ka pa aware kung ano ang volume ng cylinder, pwede mo makandak research, pwede natin bukaron sa ating mga notes, or pwede natin i-recall kung ano ang mga ang volume sa specific nga ginapangita diri. For example, we have cylinder which is ang volume niya is pi r squared h. So the circumference, formula sa circumference is 2 pi r. So pwede ni natin lain ma-relate. So we are going to simplify sa aton nga equation. Aton nga circumference is 2 pi r, pwede tayo mo ang aton nga r, which is equal to c all over 2 pi. Then we are going to substitute this one sa aton formula sa aton nga volume. So, r naton, substitute naton sa c over 2 pi squared. So, aton nga height, or ang aton nga volume will be equal to c squared h all over 4 pi. Kay ma, 4 pi squared man so cancel natin rin ang isa ka pi, so it will be c squared h all over 4 pi. Okay, so if we calculate this one, ating volume will be equal to 422.69239 centimeter cube. So round off natin. So we round our results into three significant figure now. We have 421 cm cube. So pwede gid if we double check sa aton unit. So pwede naton double check ang aton nga unit. So another example dere, we have the Willis Tower in Chicago as an observation deck, which is 412 meter above ground. How far can you see out over Lake Michigan from the observation deck? So simply lang. So assuming no fog or haze, you can see to the horizon. Assuming that the base of the Willis Tower is at the same height as the Lake Michigan, we have to take into account the curvature of the Earth. So take note natin. So to make the desired quantities easier to see, we draw the sketch with the height of the Willis Tower exaggerated. So medyo gin-exaggerate lang ang iyang height. So we are standing point B. So ari na di sa babaw. And we can see the distance R to point C on the horizon. So amo natin makita. The height of the Willis Tower is represented by h na lang. The radius of the Earth is r. So r man ni pakato sa c. So from the sketch, we can see pwede kita diri maka-apply sa Pythagorean theorem. So since this is perpendicular, so we have r plus r squared is equal to muna ato ang hypotenuse, which is r plus h squared. Next, we have to simplify. Pwede natin i-simplify ang aton nga equation. This will be equal to, so simplify ta lang ni aton nga equation. So this will be equal to, pwede tayo move based sa aton nga equation. Ang isa ka r, salinong ko lang sa piyak para makakuha ang r naton. So this will be equal to r plus h squared minus r squared. So kung i-simplify ko, this will be i-expand ko na this will be equal to r squared plus 2rh plus h squared. So, pwede ko na makancel ang r squared. Mabili na lang is 2rh plus h squared. R will be equal to square root of 2rh plus h squared. Next, we put in our numbers here. This will be equal to, okay, so aton answer diri for your r is 7.25 times 10 raised to the 4 meters. Okay, so pwede tayo round off. into three significant figures, we have 72.5 kilometers. So, pwede natin dahil i-double check ang ating mga unit based on the given. So, another pagid nga common nga problem if we will be talking about physics is the ratio problem. Common class of physics problem asks what happens to quantity that depends on a certain parameter if that parameter changes by a given amount. So very common gini especially sa physics, sciences or mathematics ka mga problems. So what we are going to do is to write down the formula that connects the dependent quantity to the parameter that changes and then write a formula twice. Once with label 1 and the another one with label 2. Form a ratio of the two equation, insert the factor of change for the parameter expressed as ratio, and then calculate the change in dependent quantity. For example, we have the change in volume. So the problem states that if the radius of sphere, for example, increases by a factor of 2.5, by what factor does the volume of the sphere changes? Probably kapilan yung gini siya later on ma-encounter. Kung nag-change ang imong mga radius, ano kada ko ang change sa mga volume. So amo lang man ang iyang pamangkot. So inspect or try to recall that the volume sphere is given by the formula 4/3 pi r cubed. Sulat dayon nato ang aton nga volume twice. So first natin nga volume 4/3 pi r cubed pero r natin diri is r sub 1. Next, another volume is 4/3 pi r sub 2 cubed. So divide mo ang first equation by second equation. So we will have V2 all over V1 will be makansel ang 4/3. Mabilin, makansel man ang pi. Mabilin dari is R2 cube all over R1 cube. Okay, so the problem states that pwede natin i-simplify. Ang ating nga problem states that R2 is equal to 2.5 R. So balikan natin ang problem. So ang factor of change natin is 2.5. So nag-change ang mga radius by 2.5. So ang ikaduha ng mga radius is 2.5 times as ang original na radius which is R1. Substituting into our ratio, pwede na natin dahil ma-substitute. So R2 is equal to 2.5 R1. Substitute na lang di siya. So we could have R1 cube. So makansel na lang. This is equal to 2.5 cube lang which is equal to 15.625. That means ato nga volume. So kung sa linong ko dito, V2 multiply ko ang V1. That means your second or the change sa mga volume will be 15.6 multiplied by the original nga volume. So kung mag-change kali ang imong radius by factor of 2.5, ang atong nga volume will change by factor of 15.6. Okay, so another diri nga kinahanglan naton mas maintindihan is the concept of vectors. Vectors have magnitude and direction. So the magnitude of a vector is a non-negative number often associated with a physical unit. Vector quantities are important in the study natin sa physics. So vectors have a starting point and an ending point. So if we are going to represent it in a Cartesian coordinate system, which has either two or three axes, either xy or xyz ang mga coordinate system, each of which is perpendicular to the other. In two dimensions, we typically label the horizontal axis x and the vertical axis y. We can then specify any point in two-dimensional space by specifying its coordinates. So, for example, we have point P. So, ang iya coordinate will be Px kag Py. We use the notation Px, Py para sa aton nga coordinate to denote the positions ng specific na point. But take note, we could also have some three-dimensional nga coordinate system. We can define one-dimensional coordinate system. So, we can also define three-dimensional coordinate system. So we could either have this one when you have your x, your y, and your z component. So using Cartesian coordinates, we can define the starting point and the ending point sa ato nga vector. So kung diin siya nag-start, kung diin siya nag-end. We can shift the vector around in space as long as we don't change the length or direction ng vector. pwede nga shift siya naton halin diri pakadto sa laing nga parts ng imo nga coordinate system. So for simplicity, we can shift the starting point of the vector to the origin of the coordinate system. So pwede siya naton i-change. Suppose instead of flying nonstop from Seattle to New York, we had connections in Dallas. So this is very simple. So pwede. For example, we have kung gusto nimo magkadto sa New York, halin ka sa Seattle. So if halin ka sa Seattle, you are going to New York, pwede, you have two options whether to diretso ka sa imo biyahe or pwede ka makastop over danay sa Dallas. So that's the concept of vectors. So the general procedure for adding two vectors is to move the tail of the vector B to the head of the vector A. So take note that this one is used, this process ginatawag siya naton nga tail to end. That means ang given diri is pangitaon naton ang aton nga resultant vector, which is see sa sini nga figure. We have letter A, this one una naton nga vector A and vector B. Ang kinahanglan naton nga pangitaon is ano ang values ng mga vector C. So to do that, pwede naton isugpon ang aton nga vector B kag vector A. Pwede nga ang given naton wala na sila daan nakasugponanay and you are going to perform lang kung paano siya naton i-sugpon. And that is i-add na lang duwa naton ka vectors. Okay, so familiar na kamo sa siniya concept because this was already introduced na sa inyo in the senior high school nga mga klase. So, because vector addition commutes, you can get the same result by moving the tail of vector A to the head of vector B. So, pwede nga unahon nimo ang ari and then you add with vector B or pwede unahon mo ang or A plus B or B plus A nga vector pwede lang. Next, we have graphical vectors of action. So we define the inverse of a vector as a vector with the same length but pointing in the opposite direction. So that means, ang ari, ang C, kung maghamba ka negative na C, so pakadto siya sa same na direction, same lang iya nga length, so pwede sila mag-cancel out. That will be equal to 0 na dayon. That is for vector subtraction, which is the inverse sang aton nga addition. So for most practical purposes, we will add vectors using the component method. So if we are given, for example, coordinate system or in the form of a sang XYZ niya nga component, for example, i-add mo lang man na tanan niya nga X component, tanan niya nga Y component, or tanan niya nga Z components. So in order to get that, you have A being nga naka X, XYZ, B nga naka XYZ man. So add mo ang duha ka X, AX plus BX, tanan nga Y, AY plus BY, ang tanan nga Z, which is AZ plus BZ. So mo lang man na. That's how simple it would be. Next, for multiplication of a vector with a scalar. So, medyo hapos lang mo ni sa Japon. It is easy to see. For example, may ara ka tatlo ka A. So, that will be equal to 3 times A. So, multiplication of a vector with a positive scalar results in another vector that points in the same direction but has a magnitude that is the product of the scalar and the magnitude of the original vector. So, for example, kung may ara ka di scalar, what does it mean when naghamba kita scalar? Scalar is just a quantity nga may ara ka lang value pero wala na siya direction. So, that is the opposite sa ginatawag natin nga vector. So, multiply mo man lang na di siya, multiply mo di siya sa kilid, so that will be, multiply mo siya sa AX nga value, multiply mo siya sa AY nga value, multiply mo man siya sa AZ nga value. Okay, so unit vectors have magnitude 1 and are directed along the main axis of the coordinate system. So maghambak ka unit vector kung sa x nga part, 1 ang imong x, kung sa y, 1 ang imong y, ang z, 1 ang imong z. 1, 1, 1 for your coordinate system. Next, vector length and direction. So knowing the components of a vector, we can calculate its length and direction. The length is, we have a is equal to ax squared plus ay squared. Kabalo na kita because this one is a right triangle dere, so we are going to perform some Pythagorean theorem. So the direction is defined by ating nga theta dere, gamitan ta lang arctan. Arctan which is equal to ay all over ax. Okay? If we are going to find, for example, ang given natin is A, amo lang ni ang given ang A or array nga value. So, pwede ta maka-perform kung example, A given and then your angle is already given. So, pwede mo ni makuha nga value ang AY, pwede mo man makuha nga value ang AX. Scalar vector product. So, vector product is defined as, so this is dot product. So, multiply mo lang tanan nga AX times AX, AY times AY, AZ times AZ. That is that product. So we are going to elaborate man later on if we are going to focus na sa sining mga discussion. We have A, B, cosine A. It is sometimes called the dot product. So if the two vectors form 90 degrees angle, the scalar product is 0. So, amo lang mo na himuon. So, tanan nga may x, multiply mo, plus, tanan nga may y, multiply mo, tanan nga may z, multiply mo man. So, we can use the product to find the angle between them. So, ang answer ni mo diri dayon, sige, multiply mo. So, i-calculate mo lang or amo ni ang formula in general naton. So we are going to elaborate lang. I will be sending a video man Japon about sa sini. Next, we have a scalar product. So ang iyang geometric representation is like this one. So if halin ka diri, scalar product, so same man na Japon nga angle but you are going to move lang. So angle between two position vectors. So what is the angle between the two position vectors? So vector A naton, this one, iyang coordinates 4, 2 kag 5. Vector B naton is 4.5, 4 kag 3. So ang ginapamangkot is the angle between them. So we use the definition of scalar vector product. So A naton, we have kwaon tadanay. Magamba ka this one is magnitude. This is not absolute value. So, ang magkuha ka sa magnitude, square mo man lang ang tanan nga component niya. 4 squared plus 2 squared plus 5 squared. So, that is equal to your magnitude ng A, which is 6.721. Vector B, kuhaan mo yung magnitude. Kaya ari ni sa aton nga formula kagina. Okay. We have magnitude of A, magnitude of B, cosine A. So, muna atong sumong ginahimo. So, ginkuha natin ang magnitude ng A, ginkuha natin ang magnitude ng B. This time, since sa right side of the equation, we have the dot product, dot product. So, i-dot product na sila. So, your dot product will be equal to, so, multiply mo ang tanan niya x, so that will be 4 times 4.5, plus, multiply mo ang duwa ka y, 2 times 4, plus, multiply ta ang duwa ka z, which is 5 times 3 cm squared. That will be equal to 41.1 or 41.0 cm squared. And based on the formula natin, we have, atong formula is, okay, are, this one is your dot product sa babaw, and this one is your, are, magnitude ng A, magnitude ng B. So, simple lang. That's why we have here sa ating solution, our cosine of, this one is your dot product na value, which is 41.0, and this one sa dalong is the magnitude ng A divided by multiplied by magnitude ng B. And then your angle will be solved by our cosine, which will be equal to 24.7 degrees. Okay, so take note lang kung paano ni siya. Kung of another nga process kung if we involve vector. So I will be sending lang sang video nga about sa vector product. Okay, so medyo luwig-luwig na aton nga discussion about this one. So I will be sending some reference video lang for the vector product and that product also. But make sure to watch this video because I will be giving a an activity quiz para sa first week naton nga discussion. So this is it for now. I do hope this made clear na sa introduction naton for physics. So thank you. Stay safe. God bless.